Hey Dave, Bruce Kulick here with Shout It Out Loud from Kiss, your favorite band, and certainly a song that I really love playing with them. Now, you have a big birthday shout out from Allie. How awesome is that? And I have to admit, I was very flattered to see how she described a lot of the things that you love. Not only that you love Kiss, you're into horror movies and that whole genre, as well as Star Trek, Next Generation, all that kind of stuff. Cool. So we have similar kind of pop culture fascinations. That's wonderful. She told me that, you love my era. Thank you so much. Sometimes we don't get enough attention, but I appreciate it. She mentioned a lot of songs. I'll touch upon a few of them for your birthday and play a few riffs. But I wanted to thank you, of course, for that, the fact that you were around and enjoying many of the albums that I contributed to and toured for. Okay. So now it's interesting. One of the first ones she mentioned was Thrills of the Night. And actually that's on Animalize. And I did perform it live at the Chris Cruise Landlocked, which was, we did it on the Animalize tour. I hadn't done it very often from that. But Mark St. John was really the lead player from that, who only did that record, and then I replaced him. But I love the, kind of like, I don't remember all these riffs, but I learned it. It was kind of, I had to study my Animalize tape, which was way too fast, but I learned how to slow that down. But that whole... And I love that. Really cool. And I recently watched a podcast about the other version of the video that we did, which was never released, something about us dressing up in characters and stuff, and no one knows where the footage is, which is pretty funny. I kind of looked like a clerk that worked at the mail boy from some office or something. Eric Carr was a gangster. It was kind of silly. All right, what else we got? Who Wants to Be Lonely? What a great song. Of course, I did that one at the Virgin event. It's got some really great riffs in it. That whole. And I'm not in great shape to play. Well, that was nice. And then there's all this fancy hammer-on stuff that I usually have to gear myself into practicing quite a bit. Haven't played it since November, so I'm not going to go any further. Reason to Live is another one that I could play at the beginning. And then, okay. My wife knows I struggle, like relearning things from 40 years ago. Not easy. I don't see many athletes that were, at the top of their game at 30 and 40 years later, playing the same. So that's the problem with that. Hide Your Heart. What a great album. And here's the beginning. What's funny about that song is Evan Stanley, Paul's son, who's a very talented guitar player. Check out his stuff. When he was like a teenager, Paul calls me up and says, like, Evan's really, he really loves the riffs in Hide Your Heart. Can you explain it to him? So over the phone, I was like showing him the riffs. Kind of funny. We just talked about it here in Vegas when the Kiss Cruise happened, which was great. Now, Turn on the Night. What a great song. We never played it in concert live, even though the video for it is a live concert. Terrific song, and kind of, overlooked by the band, but every time I've performed it live, everybody goes crazy, okay? And in fact, speaking of crazy, of course they love. Now, I know you're going to have a great birthday and a crazy night. And I know you also mentioned I Walk Alone, but you need special tuning for that. But I'll give you a little, this isn't a guitar part. I know deep inside of me, there's a place that, I forget the words. What is it, honey? What place that's...
It's not plain to see.
That's not plain to see. Where I belong, where no one else can be. I wasn't meant to sing that song, but the producer that co-produced with Gene and Paul said, no, Bruce has got to sing it. I don't know if he realized that the band, my version of the band was going to end then for the reunion tour. So I truly did Walk Alone. Okay, Dave? What can I say? Okay, last thing, you love wrestling. You know, I'm good friends with Chris Jericho. I never met Hulk Hogan. I know he's your favorite. But my wife's son, Anthony, is a brilliant guy, and he loves wrestling, and he's taught me so much because there's been autograph shows around the country that I've done that some really big wrestlers that, of course, are retired now from the ring appear. And then he's like, get me a picture. And then it turns out that Lisa and I befriend them, and a lot of fun, a lot of fun. So I don't know what you're doing for your birthday. I want to thank, of course, Allie for reaching out to me, but I wish you many, many more years of joyful birthdays. And I'll just say goodnight from Las Vegas. Take care, Dave. Happy birthday.